Hello there, I'm Danny, and is this recording? Yes, cool. So this video is a training video to help you become a great hypnotherapist. Not a good one, a great one. Now, I'm going to go through about 9-10 steps that have really helped me, and I know other great hypnotherapists, past life regressionists, and Michael Newton Institute facilitators have brought into their practice or they use to become and be a great therapist. So it's not essential that you do everything on this list. All right. Now, this video is for my training course, the students on my course, specifically for those students. So this just kind of gives you a bit of a heads up, a bit of an idea of a number of things that you can be bringing in to your practice to help you get where you want to be. And I know some of you are just starting, so this can seem overwhelming, but really you just take it one step at a time, and I'll go through this in a lot more depth on the training course. And I know some of you on the course are quite advanced already and probably know a great deal of this, but it'd be really helpful to listen to all 9-10 points that I'm going to make. And if you are a student, maybe take some notes of any questions or concerns or anything that you think, oh, that's interesting. And then we can talk about it when the course starts. So one of the first things I'm going to mention is to be the hypnotist. Okay. What does that even mean? Be the hypnotist. I remember Anthony Jacquin, a brilliant hypnotherapist, saying this quite often on his training courses. And it does take a bit of a mindset shift to become the hypnotherapist or the past life regressionist or the Michael Newton Institute facilitator. Because often we've watched many other therapists, hypnotherapists, we've seen other sessions, we've read books. But then when we actually become this, it's like we've got to take almost a new persona to start with. And it's getting our minds into that kind of new identity that you are the hypnotist. And it's believing in yourself. So one of the keys to being the hypnotist is practice. And can you guess what else you're going to do? You're going to practice. All right. Practice. Sounds a bit boring, but it's really, really essential to becoming a great hypnotherapist, being the hypnotist. So when I first started out, I had a few people that I could easily ask to practice something on. One was my son. Yeah, I've done it on him hundreds of times probably. And sometimes he'd come over and I'd say, just 5 minutes, please. And he was really, really good. And he'd let me kind of practice on him. And it really helped him as well in many areas. I had a woman at work. I was working as a NHS physio. There was a lady there who wanted to lose weight. And she was like, yeah, if you can do it, Danny, for weight loss. I was like, God knows. I said, yeah, I'll put in some helpful suggestions around that. So I had 2-3 people that I could regularly practice on really easily. So it's good to go and find some people. Now, I know on some courses they say, don't practice with your family. And I can understand why they say that, because your family, they don't see you as the hypnotist. They see you as mum or, brother, sister, whoever. So for them, sometimes it can be difficult fully engaging and believing in this process with you. But it can work great on family. I've done it on my sister, my mother-in-law, one of my brothers, obviously my son, my partner. I've done it on many family people, and it's worked pretty well on most of them. So speak to your family, see if they're open to it, but find some people that you can practice on. But also, once you've done this training course, start practicing them. Once you've learned these skills, start practicing them. And it's really key for you to learn this by actually doing this. And it can take a little bit of confidence. It can take a bit of being brave, which I'll talk about in a moment. We have to push ourselves to go and practice sometimes. And then just keep the sessions really, really simple, so you're not overwhelmed by what you've got to do. Start off really, really easy, and I'll talk about that a bit later. But I'm very often learning new techniques. I'm always learning something. There's always a book or a course or something I'm learning, or I'm speaking to other therapists. So I'm always learning something new. And when I'm just reading a book on Stephen Gilligan, who's an NLP therapist, and he's got a few techniques that he uses. So I see clients, regularly every week for hypnosis and past life regression. So when they come and see me, my new clients, I use these new techniques on them so that I learn how to do them. And you realize it's not the technique that does all the work. All right. So it doesn't matter what techniques you're using on your clients. And I'll talk about that later. But it's really good to practice. Yeah, okay. And then the next one, and this is, you need to be a business person, a marketing person, and the therapist. Okay. Now, Carl Smith's a really great hypnotherapist in England. There's a couple of really good techniques. Was it emotional detox and kinetic shift? And I use them quite often. I've done his training. He really helped me at the beginning, Carl Smith. He's got a lot of stuff on YouTube and a lot of free stuff. And he talks a great deal. He's the one who says, practice. He's the one who also says, you need to get very good at being a business person and a marketing person. And he says, before you're a therapist. I actually think it's the other way around. I think you need to be a brilliant therapist, but also know about marketing and business. So this is something we'll talk about more in my course as well. There will be maybe a whole day where we work out your business plan, your marketing strategy, how you're going to go and get clients. It's really important to get, for me, what's really worked for me is getting my website there. And for most hypnotherapists, they need a website and then connect it to Google My Business. Then you can get your Google reviews on there as well. Google reviews are really important as well. So getting some of those things done. And I'd say if you're doing the training, get a website set up now. I went and had someone professionally build it. I didn't spend a lot of money. I think I spent £200 having someone build the website. And that really helped me in the beginning. Yeah, I've also then learned how to build websites. So I built my second website. And now, again, that was a big mindset shift for me. I never believed I was good with IT, computers, setting up websites. That's something that just wasn't me at all. I've been a physiotherapist, a paramedic, stock market, hypnotherapist, but setting up computers and IT stuff was just completely unnatural to me. But learning these techniques, learning hypnosis, learning NLP, I've been able to remove my negative beliefs and have a I can attitude to everything, that everything is possible now when I apply my mind to it. And I looked at my negative beliefs around building websites, around IT, and I realized it came from when I was at school, when I was young, and I did computer studies, and I did really poor. But I also realized that I didn't study. I didn't go to many classes. I wasn't interested in it. I didn't really want to learn it. So guess what? I didn't learn it. And then I believed I was rubbish at computers. And that belief stayed there for 30 years or so. And then I was able to, oh, okay, that's what, well, well, I do want to learn now. So I was able to remove that negative belief and become open to the idea that I might be able to build a website. And it did take me quite a bit of effort. It took me a couple of weeks to understand how to do it. But then I built my next website. So, and I'm not saying you've got to build your own websites, not at all. But it's having, what I've learned is having an I can attitude rather than that's too much for me. Or just at least looking at your beliefs around things. That's what is really essential. Looking at your habits and your beliefs that might be holding you back. And we'll talk about this again on the training course in more depth. So I've also got, so with my business marketing, I've got my website, I've got Google My Business, I've got Calendly, which is a booking system. I've got SumUp, which is a payment system. And I've got, I use Zoom as well. Obviously this is recorded on Zoom. So I pay for all those. Only a small amount. I have Canva and AI I use to create and build things. So, and all this was new to me. Canva, AI, all, you know, creating images was like something that I was like, this is not what I want to be doing. But I've learned that I can do it. And I really enjoy it now as well. Stuff that I felt too complex a while back is now something that I actually quite enjoy doing. Well, really enjoy doing a lot of times. So we'll talk about this more in the course, but it's knowing about, yes, be a great therapist. And I think that's essential. Keep learning, keep reading books, you know, and I've given a list of great books to read. There's on the reading list, there's course 1, course 2, but then there's some additional books at the bottom. I've read about 80, 90 books, and I've not just read them, I've then wrote them down afterwards and memorized a lot of the stuff from the books. I read a book, I highlight it in different colors, and then I write the highlights up on a Word document, and then print the Word document off. So the book I condense into almost like a script for me. I'm not saying do that, but it's really important to be a great therapist. Some hypnotherapists, past life regressionists, do one course and then they're just off on social media all day, posting, come and see me, come and see me, come and see me. And you go and see them and it's a rubbish session. Not always, but it's really important to work on this and keep working on it. So business, marketing, and a therapist. You need to do all three, but don't stress about this, honestly. All right. You might think, oh, I'm rubbish at business. I'm rubbish at marketing. Okay. You don't have to do all of it. You can outsource some of it. You can get help. Again, we'll talk about all these things. What I'm doing is giving you a heads up of some things you need to have an idea about. Because when I became a physiotherapist, after 4 years training, I then got a job with the NHS. And then they just paid me X amount every month. And all I had to do was turn up. I didn't have to post on social media. I didn't have to post any AI ads. I didn't have to have a booking system. I didn't even have to do any more training. But hypnotherapy is different. Once you qualify, you've got to find the clients. Okay. And that can be the tricky bit. But it can also be quite easy when you've got a good system in place for doing it. All right. And I'll go through my system, what I use on the training course, but there's other ways. You don't just have to use my way. It's learning. And I'll also explain things I've done that didn't work for me. And they may work for other therapists, but things that haven't worked for me. All right. But there's many, many, many ways of getting clients, and it's working out what's going to be right for you. Okay. So the next one is personal growth work. Okay. Personal growth work. So why am I putting this on here? So just looking at my notes, and this is especially a point relative if you're looking at joining the Michael Newton Institute, but it's really good for any hypnotherapist to work on themselves, because when you do sessions, every now and then the client is going to go into a traumatic scene. It just happens sometimes, even when you're trying to avoid it. If you try and avoid it, most times you will avoid it. If the client doesn't want to go anywhere near trauma, most times you can completely avoid it. There are many techniques, but sometimes the client will have what's called an ab reaction, which means an abnormal reaction, a cathartic release of emotions, maybe crying, maybe deep breathing, maybe a tiny bit of body shaking, but I've never really seen that. They call it an ab reaction, abnormal reaction, but really it's a normal reaction to trauma. Okay, so you've got to be comfortable that, especially with doing past lives and LBLs, that clients are going to have these ab reactions, these large, it's a bad term, ab reaction. They're going to have large cathartic releases from time to time. Now, you've got to be able to sit there lovingly and hold space for your client without you getting triggered. Okay, now we'll talk about this more on the course, but it's good for you to have done the work on yourself. So you're not then breaking down crying with the client. And I've seen that happen before. It's okay if you get a bit emotional, that's all right, but you need to be able to hold it together. All right. So, and doing the training with me, with others, you will be able to do your own personal growth work as well. But it's good for you as of now, just to start looking at your negative beliefs about yourself, about the world, and then just start, oh, do I need that? Is that true? Look at your unhelpful habits. What habits have you got that are just not really that good for you being a great hypnotherapist? And then realize you can change your habits if you want to. So yeah, personal growth work is really important. And sometimes it's good to have regular counseling, regular therapy. I have regular hypnotherapy sessions where, not regular, probably once every 6 months, I'll go and see a friend and we'll swap sessions. And I'll release what I need to release and he'll release what he needs to release. All right. But you can also use the training to work on this. But just get a sense of what it is you need to work on so that you can sit there and hold space lovingly. You know, I was also a paramedic. I was going to say in a previous life, but 20 years ago, 25 years ago. And so I learned to be able to deal with people, you know, in very traumatic situations, dying in front of me. And then I learned just to do my best, but I'll talk about that more. So holding space and doing your own personal growth work and be able to deal with big emotional reactions are really, really good if you can do that. All right. But I know some therapists, they don't want to go near emotions and they can still do some great work. I know Carl Smith often says, we don't need to talk about the issue. All right. So when a client comes to see you for hypnosis, they don't have to talk about all their past. They don't have to at all. They often want to, and I find it helpful, but many clients don't want to talk about it, and you don't need to talk about the issue. All right. You can deal with how do they want to be in the future? Okay. All right. I'm going off on one there a little bit. So the next one is going to be your voice and your energy. Okay, all right. So this is on the how to become a great hypnotherapy list. So your voice, and as I'm saying that, I'm thinking about my voice, is your instrument, your tool to help someone go into hypnosis. So this is something that we'll talk about more in the training course, but just start getting used to practicing your hypnosis voice. So I have an app on my phone and I still record 10-15 minute audios for clients. But in the beginning, I was just practicing my hypnosis voice. I'd done a lot of YouTube videos just so I could practice my voice and doing inductions, doing techniques. but play around, yeah, softening your voice. You can never go slow enough. And I often speak on the exhalation and sync up with the client's breathing. That's right. Okay, so just start working on your voice and your energy. If you're, okay, how are you today? Or so high on coffee that you're kind of too wired, it's difficult to connect energetically. So be aware that when we're doing these sessions, we all have an aura. Whether you believe it or not, we have this energetic aura all the way around us. 10 feet, 20 feet, client's aura. So your energetic fields are connecting. And I often imagine that I'm energetically connecting with my client, opening my heart chakra, my heart center. You haven't got to do that unless you want to, but it's just energetically connecting and knowing your voice, your feelings, how you are in that moment will be coming across. So, I also have in my mind a real positive regard for the client. And I'll talk about that in a moment. So your voice and your energy. Okay, so the next one I call is Rob. So who is Rob? So Rob is resilient. Rob is organized. And Rob is brave. Okay. Rob's just an acronym. Unfortunately, Rob doesn't actually exist. But I'm sure there is a Rob out there who is resilient, organized, and brave. If you know him, can you send him to me, please? Yeah. So, resilient, organized, and brave. Now, there are many, many other qualities that I could have wrote down to become a great hypnotherapist. And I've highlighted these three. Now, resilient is on there because when I first started, I didn't know what I was doing. I'd done a really terrible course that I'll maybe talk about another time. I thought I had to be writing essays and journals to learn, but no, what you need to learn really is practice, 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 and know what you're practicing as well. Practice the right things. So I would often practice on someone and I wouldn't say it properly. I'd get it wrong. My tone was wrong. My pace was wrong. The setup of the room was wrong, of the client was wrong, or there's no right wrong, but it just wasn't good, wasn't conducive to hypnosis. And then the client might just go, yeah, I'm not sure this is working, Dan. Or something would happen. Or the client would open their eyes, or afterwards they'd kind of not give me great feedback. And so a couple of times when it hasn't gone that well, or the client hasn't really gone into hypnosis, it can feel like a failure. All right. So what is it they say in NLP? There's no such thing as failure. It's only feedback. So you have to be resilient because sometimes, unlike say a counseling session where you're just talking and you can't really do much wrong, in a hypnosis session, we're hoping to take someone into a trance. That's the idea. And sometimes they might not go into a trance. So it can feel like it's not worked. But nowadays that hardly, I can't even remember the last time it happened. Actually, I do remember the last time it happened, yeah. But the woman didn't want it to work really. And that's another story. But so you need to be resilient. Sometimes this is not going to go as wonderful as you hope. All right. And I can think of a few times with certain people, even a client very early where it wasn't really working. And I felt like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. And I didn't really. And I thought, oh, hypnosis, this is too risky. I'm not sure this is what I want to be doing. But I had to be resilient. that resilience to say, okay, what can I learn from that situation? Rather than getting upset, go, right, what can I improve? What made that session not work? So that's where it's good to have a mentor or someone you can talk to about hypnosis. And I'm going to be mentoring the students for the first year. So you can come to me for that first year. But it's good. I mean, I had a friend of mine that I would talk to almost daily in that first couple of years. Well, no, it wasn't. Yeah, a few years ago, I had someone I could talk to almost daily, and we would discuss everything about hypnosis, and it was brilliant. And not just the sessions, but also the marketing and the business strategy as well. So being resilient, okay, that's key. Being organized, just you've got to run a business. Now you can have systems in to make it automated and easy for you. And I have a lot of systems in place, like with my booking system with Calendly. But you've got to kind of get a smooth, organized system and work out what's going to be best for you as well. So, I communicate a lot with my clients on WhatsApp. And that means I'm open to getting messages, often over weekends, sometimes, at night. But I'm okay with that. I will get back to them the next day or after the weekend, and it doesn't bother me too much. Sometimes it might, because they might be worried about something, and then I'm kind of like, okay, I might need to deal with that. So knowing what your system's going to be, okay, how you want to be hands-on or hands-off for your clients, work out what's right for you, but getting organized. And if you're not an organized person, work out how you can become more organized. When I was younger, I wasn't seen as being the most organized person, but I've become organized when it comes to running this business, my business. Okay. And being brave. Now, what does that mean? Brave? I could see images of a Mel Gibson in Braveheart. You haven't got to buy an axe or a tomahawk or anything. Being brave. So, by being brave, what I mean is don't just stick to doing the same thing in every single session. I have something that I call the 10% rule. So I generally change every session by about 10%. Sometimes a lot more, and sometimes I might not do it. But I have a little thing in my mind that I want to change things. So that might mean I might gently change the induction. I might change the pre-talk a little bit. I might change the background music. I might change the techniques I'm using. So I like to change things around, and also being brave. So I've learned, and I'll teach some of this, and you don't have to use all this stuff, all right? Just giving you an overview of what I've done and what I know others have done. But I also know many hypnotherapists do one training course, and then when the client comes, they have a little chat and then say, close your eyes, and then just read an induction and then read a script and then say, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, open your eyes. And often that can work. Sometimes there's a script called the clearance protocol. And it's a really good script. And it works really, really well for a lot of things. And I know one hypnotist, he's not full-time, he's got another job, but he advertises on his website for hypnosis. And when they come, that's all he does is he reads the clearance protocol to them. And he gets good results, he says. So we can overcomplicate this. And I will give you some scripts that are kind of a general all script that someone can come, no matter what it is, and you can just read that script. And do you know what? There's been days where I've done that, where I'm really tired, I haven't slept well, and I've got a client turning up and I'm maybe done some other things with them, and I'm like, I don't know what to do today. And I go, right, I'm going to do that clearance protocol script. And the clients really enjoyed it and it's gone well. So you don't have to overcomplicate this, yeah? But what I've done is I've been brave in many sessions and taken a risk. So what I mean by that is I will sometimes, well, virtually every time I will get them to relax their eyes so they can't open them, and then get them to test that they can't open their eyes. Now, if they open their eyes, it can feel like a failure. I often get a client's hands on the sofa and I'll make one feel it's really, really heavy and they can't lift it. And I'll make the other one start feeling really light, that it just floats up. Okay. Now, and I use this quite often. Many therapists won't do that in case it fails. All right. So I know ways around that and I'll teach you about that. And I've done rapid hypnosis and street hypnosis training. And then I've gone and used it in the therapy room. I've then gone and practiced it. And that's how I've managed to remember it and be able to do it naturally now. So being brave, and whatever that means. I'm not saying make hands float up. I'm not saying glue someone's eyes. Maybe I am. But what I'm saying is just be brave. Try new things. Okay. And the key to it is, if it doesn't work, don't get upset. If it doesn't work, all right, just carry on as if it was meant. That was meant to happen. You know, if someone's hand doesn't float up, okay, I will then just say, I want you to consciously now raise that hand. Or I will lean over and go, and there we go. I'm going to just lift your hand into that position. Or I might say, now I want it to become heavy like the other one. That's it. Let it get. I'll just change it. All right. So there are ways around things, but if something doesn't go how you want it to go or was hoping for, just flow. They often don't even remember that little moment, but act as if you meant that mistake to happen. All right. So resilient, organized, and brave. And then this next one is get your clients and know how to get people into deep hypnosis. I almost laugh putting this on there, but as a hypnotherapist, past life regressionist, a Michael Newton Institute facilitator, know how to get someone into deep hypnosis. All right. It's really helpful. Now, I hear many therapists saying, you don't need to go into deep hypnosis. It works better in light hypnosis. It's actually better to have no hypnosis. Just close your eyes and float out your body. Close your eyes and imagine that part of you. Okay, great. Yeah, it can work in light hypnosis. It can work with no hypnosis. But guess what? It can also work absolutely brilliant with deep hypnosis. And that's why they're coming to see you a lot of times, is to go into hypnosis, to go into a trance. So you need to learn how to do a good pre-talk. You need to learn different inductions to get someone into hypnosis. Because the reason why we're taking someone into hypnosis is that it takes the conscious mind offline. Okay, so what they've shown, studies have shown, is that hypnosis, plant medicines, ayahuasca, mushroom, psilocybin, and even sleep are all similar in a way. What they all do is they quieten down a part of the mind, a part of the brain that that keeps us locked into this reality. So when we take someone into deep hypnosis, parts of their brain quieten, and it means they become more open. They become more open to possibilities. See, our conscious mind locks us into this reality, and there's studies showing this. There's one called the kitten study. Go and have a look at that, about horizontal lines and vertical lines. We're locked into this reality. Now, in hypnosis, the mind opens and we can start looking at new realities. That's why when you take plant medicines, you can go and meet your higher self. That's why when you go asleep, you can dream and travel. I'm pointing up there, but sometimes It might just be in here. So deep hypnosis, know how to get someone into deep hypnosis. Because often once they go into that deep hypnosis, they can feel something, they feel a bit different. And that's why using some things like the hand floating up can really, really help going into deep hypnosis. So we're going to teach more about this. And yes, you don't always have to be in deep hypnosis, but it helps. What hypnosis does is, and Richard Bandler said this, the creator of NLP, neuro linguistic program, is deep hypnosis is an amplifier. That's what he believes. So whatever you want to do, whatever you want to change, when you imagine doing that in hypnosis, it amplifies it. But it also, like I said, it allows the client's mind to become more flexible, moves that conscious mind away so they become open. Their solution that they grabbed hold of, smoking, alcohol, fear of public speaking, does that. And then they become flexible, creative, open to new suggestions. So the next one I'm going to put down here is, can be a controversial subject, this one. And I think I've spelt it right. Niching, niche. So Niching, I think that's right. Niching. So who are your clients going to be? All right. How long have I been? So, okay, are we recording again? Good. So have a think about who you want to treat, who you're comfortable seeing. When somebody rings me up and says, can you help? My answer is always yes. Once it was no, and I'll tell you about that another time. You have to be careful with people with certain mental health issues, psychosis especially. And you've got to know what you're comfortable treating. So I see a lot of people for addictions, for alcohol, because that's something that's I know a great deal about. So we will talk on the course about who your client's going to be, whether it's going to be everyone or whether you're going to specialize. Some people say it's good to specialize because then you become the expert in that field, and then people will come to you, but they will also come to you for other things too. But I've also enjoyed not niching. However, saying that, I get a lot of people for LBLs, which is very niche, and addictions. And then rapport skills. So I've put this one on as well. All right. So it's good and helpful to be likable. It's good and helpful to actually care about your clients. All right. So not every therapist is the most caring person, and that's okay. You know, it's helpful though. So I see my clients as magnificent, eternal souls. Now, I'm not saying you've got to do that, but I know they are a magnificent soul that's got lost in some way, and they just need some help. So I find it an honor and a privilege to be helping people. And then my beliefs, my feelings towards the client then sort of come across because I genuinely want to help them. And I think I noticed some hypnotherapists that I wouldn't want to go and see. It feels like it's all about them. They just talk. I mean, I'm talking a lot now, you know, but it's important for you to work on these rapport skills. And the best way to do it is just see the client as someone that you can really help. See it as a privilege. See them as a lost soul and that you can help them. And don't become overwhelmed. Just get them into hypnosis and say something nice. We'll talk about that later. Okay, and then the last one is my mantra. Follow your bliss. Follow your bliss. Is that light kind of blinding that a little bit, isn't it? Yeah. There we go. Follow your bliss. So this is from Joseph Campbell, philosopher, anthropologist, wrote a lot of amazing books, and he studied mankind for all his life. Religion, spirituality, early ancient civilizations. And what he found were certain common threads that humankind, for thousands of years have spoke about and know. And what they say, the ancient wisdom, is when you follow your bliss, the doors, the universe will open up the doors for you to find the path that you ought to be on. And that's what I've done. I've followed my bliss. I've listened to what my heart and my intuition are telling me to do. When I gave up physiotherapy, it was a big gamble, a big risk. I had a financially stable job there for life. My family were kind of like, what are you doing? Hypnotherapy? That's just a hobby, Dan. That's what they told me. You're never going to make a living. And I listened, but I kind of knew, no, this is being a life between life therapist was what was calling me. And I kind of reluctantly had to go and learn hypnotherapy because that's what the Michael Newton Institute said I had to do before doing life between lives with them. And it was a big gamble, but my heart was telling me, my bliss was telling me, this is where you need to go. So when I did that first course, it cost a lot of money. And it wasn't even a good course at all. But I realized very soon that hypnosis and spiritual hypnosis was what my bliss was. And then it's just led me here. The doors have opened up. I've traveled many places around Britain I wouldn't have normally gone, learning courses and meeting new people. I've traveled to Barcelona. I've traveled to Los Angeles. And I'm now a Michael Newton Institute facilitator. And they've asked me to run a course for them, which is an absolute honor and a privilege. So follow your bliss. All right. Find out what your heart is telling you to do when it comes to running your business, being a therapist, becoming a Michael Newton Institute facilitator, or maybe you just want to do hypnotherapy, which is wonderful, which I love doing just hypnotherapy sessions. I love it all. I love everything to do with this work. So follow your bliss. So be the hypnotist. Okay. And that's about, sometimes you've got to fake it to make it with that one a little bit to start with. Practice, 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 wherever you can, family, friends. Someone said they have a hypnotherapy monkey. And what they mean is someone that they've practiced on so many times that all they've got to do is just say, and sleep, or just close your eyes. And that person just goes because they've done it so many times with them. But practice, practice, practice. All right. Business, marketing, therapist. I'd say be a great therapist first and then work on these two as well. But get them all going, get the website going. Personal growth work. Okay. All right. So personal growth. That was Amazon. Next one, voice and energy. So just learn to slow your voice down a little bit. Get a soft voice, record it, practice it. Rob, who you're going to help me find, resilient, organized, brave, deep hypnosis. So once you get someone deep into hypnosis, this is easy, this work. Niching, work out who are the clients you want to work with. Rapport skills, find a way of liking your client. Not always easy, but find a way. And then follow your bliss. Do what your heart says. Do the courses, go meet the people, read the books that your heart is telling you to do. So this is just a guide to becoming a great hypnotist. There are many other things that will help you that are not on the list. These are just some of the things that I've done and I know others have done. And hopefully I'm going to see you on my training course shortly. So any questions, you can message me now if you want, but feel free when we get on the course to go through any of this stuff. So looking forward to hopefully meeting you on the training. Take care.